What is the best optic setup for an AR-15? On my newest rifle, I'm going with the Eotech holographic with a flip to center mount with a magnifier. But I've also got another rifle right over there with a 1:6 LPVO and an offset red dot. And I'm just curious, I want to shoot them side by side and see which one I like better. So we're going to start with the Eotech setup and see how we like it. Very quick when you're just using the Eotech itself. Welcome back to Sawteeth Tactical. Today we are talking optics, specifically AR-15 optic setups. Now, there are a lot of ways you can go. A lot of people just go strictly red dot. A lot of people will go with iron sights, honestly. There's prism optics, but I think that the most popular choices these days are the red dot and magnifier, or in this case, like an Eotech and magnifier. Technically not a red dot, it is a holographic sight. But for the case of this, or for the sake of this argument, they basically do the same thing. Or the LPVO with an offset red dot. Because both of these optic setups give you some magnification, but also a quick 1x for, up close, fast target acquisition. So that's what today's video is about. Make sure you're subscribed and let's get started. We're still at a relatively close distance. This rifle, I've got the 1:6 Sig MSR LPVO, second focal plane, with an offset red dot. I'm gonna start on 1x at this distance, just like I did with the Eotech, and see which one I like better. So a couple of quick caveats before we get started. For one, this video is for the perspective of like the average shooter. I'm not a competition shooter. I've never been in the military or law enforcement. I'm just a guy that likes to go out and shoot a lot. I'm not like some super duper good shooter, but I do shoot a lot. For two, this is, when it comes to an LPVO, a more budget-friendly setup. This is the Sig Tango MSR 1:6, but for a budget LPVO, it does work well. Whereas the Eotech with the G33 on Unity mounts, not quite as much of a budget setup, although this is the cheaper Eotech because I wanted to go with the green one. Now, it might have been a little bit more fair of a comparison to do Sig LPVO versus like the Romeo 5 Juliet 3 combo, which is a video I've wanted to do for a long time, but I just wanted to shoot my new rifle and similar kind of setup, red dot, magnifier. You get the point. Now, the other caveat is this. I went out to film the range footage for this video, and I found while I was out there that my zero was way off on this rifle. I had kind of quick zeroed it at a close range to start shooting this thing when I got done building it. And I've been working on the reliability with different buffer weights and stuff. And I didn't realize how far off my zero was until I took it out to some greater distances when filming for this video. Today, I filmed this last week, the range footage. Went back out with it today and zeroed it at 100 yards. And now it's on point. So as we get out to the greater distances in this video, I was missing the target a lot. Height over bore, I did not account for that well. I have now, is what it is. So I've come back to a little bit greater distance here. I've got my target set up at two different distances, one about halfway as far as the other. I'm going to start with just the holographic and then flip the magnifier up, see how that feels. So now that we've got the excuses out of the way, what are the pros and cons to each? So, great thing about an LPVO is you get a multitude of ranges of magnification. All the way from 1x, and you can crank it all the way up to 6x and anywhere in between. Now, this is a second focal plane scope here, but there are first focal plane ones. On a second focal plane LPVO, your reticle and all your holds on it, the Christmas tree, is only really accurate at full magnification at 6x. But whenever you're shooting less than 100 yards, you're probably not using those anyway. And this does have like a daylight bright reticle, which of course I left it on now for a whole week and it doesn't have a shake awake like most red dots these days. I do that all the time, so I go through a lot of batteries with this LPVO. Although, I hadn't been shooting the LPVO 16-inch gun really in a long time, which was part of the reason why I wanted to compare them. Now, the whole point of the offset red dot, why would you have that when you can go to 1x on your LPVO? Well, for one, for quickness. Say you have it at a set magnification, you're zoomed in, my hat always gets in the way with this thing. Well, you could just cant your rifle over and you have a red dot. And there's really nothing faster than a red dot. And so that's really nice. And even at 1x, when you're dealing with an LPVO, you do have to get your eye relief just right. You have to get behind the LPVO correctly or else you get scope shadow. Whereas with a red dot, you have unlimited eye relief. You can shoot both eyes open and it's super easy. And even with this light, this canted red dot, I have no problem using it. I can see the dot on target just fine. And so it's a very effective setup where you have magnification at a range of settings, and then you have a quick 1x red dot, and it works very well. But I love red dots, and I especially now love holographics, Eotech. Eotech, for all intents and purposes, works like a red dot, and it is very fast. It's about the fastest optic there is. It's got a huge window, super clear. You don't have to have a coating on it like you do for a reflex sight to reflect the reticle back at you. But we're not even going to talk about that in this video. It's just fast. It's right up on target, both eyes open shooting, just like the canted red dot is on the LPVO. Same distance as with the last gun, but this time with the LPVO offset red dot. I put the magnification up on the LPVO, so I'm going to start at 1x with the offset and then engage the farther target with the LPVO. The great thing about that is you can put a magnifier behind it, and especially with this flip to center mount, super nice, is you can go from 1x to 3x with a flip of the wrist and back to 1x. That is very nice. It's fast. If you don't ever want to use your magnifier, you don't have to until you get out to a longer distance. and you feel like you're having a little bit of trouble being on target or maybe identifying if something is a threat or not, flip up your magnifier and you're there. Now the magnifier, you are going to deal with the eye relief thing again, just like you are with the LPVO. They do both have their pros and cons. Also with the magnifier, you only have 1x or 3x, nothing in between and nothing greater. Whereas with the LPVO, you get all the way up to 6x on this one. A lot of LPVOs these days go up to 8 or 10x even, although you probably want to get a higher end LPVO if you're going to go up to higher magnifications like that, because at those higher magnifications, a budget LPVO, you're probably not going to have the glass clarity that you want for that kind of magnification anyway. I can tell you right now, I like the sight picture better with the Eotech, even with the magnifier flipped up. But I think I have a better zero on my LPVO gun. I've spent a lot more time out past 100 yards zeroing it, and I think I need to get this height over bore figured out a little better, but we're gonna go with what we got today. So which one do I like better? Well, I really like the sight picture with the Eotech. It is super intuitive, super fast, really easy to use. The donut to death reticle is nice. And even with a red dot, if you don't have an Eotech, similar kinds of performance. And that kind of goes along with the canted red dot on this. 2 eyes open shooting works great. Now, if I am shooting at a longer distance, and I'm talking well out past 100 yards, which unfortunately I wasn't able to on the day that I filmed the footage for this. The range that we have nearby has a couple of areas where you can go out past 100. Both of those had people shooting at them that day, which is unfortunate on a day that I wanted to shoot at greater distances. So I had to use one of the shorter ranges and kind of just step back into some brush to get the farther distance shooting. And with the LPVO, I still felt fairly confident, although it was slow. I kept having a hard time with the eye relief. And part of that, I think, is just because I haven't been shooting this gun enough, not as used to it as I used to be. And that's just a problem with what I do with the YouTube channel and owning a lot of guns and shooting different guns all the time instead of getting used to one gun and becoming very familiar and proficient with that one gun. So I'm going to say more that that's a me problem than an LPVO problem or a gun problem. But I have to say, the sight picture with the Eotech is unbeatable in my opinion. And that's even with the magnifier up. It's just really, really easy to see. And the magnifier actually makes that circle dot reticle even more crisp and clear. You get the same reticle, same holds. If you know, so you have your circle and your dot. The bottom of the circle is a hold at a specific range, especially with your height over bore. I'm not going to get totally into all the weeds on that today. I kind of just like, from the perspective of an average shooter, which do I like better? I like this better. Got a couple rounds left in this gun. This time I've got it set at 3x instead of all the way up to 6. And we're just gonna do the same thing. I guess that was it. So what I was gonna say, originally this video was supposed to come out on Friday. But instead I had to put out a video about the pistol brace rule because we got a nationwide injunction, and I thought that was important to bring you guys. So I pushed off finishing the filming and the editing for this video, and now here it is coming out on Sunday when normally I would do like a news story. Well, when I did the original filming for it, I was going to say that I like the LPVO better for longer distances. Because I have more experience with this at longer distances, although just not really so much recently. Well, things have changed since getting ready to finish this video. I went out shooting today with this gun specifically to film a video about tuning your buffer system. That one will come out later this week. But I realized after last week that I needed to zero this rifle at 100 yards to count for height over bore, and just because it wasn't zeroed. And so I did with, tabletop bench rest kind of shooting. I put it on a bag, got a good zero on it. And I was very confident with this thing at 100 yards today and every distance in between. So I would say that unless you're shooting well past 100 yards, a red dot or an Eotech and a magnifier is your friend, especially because generally the magnifiers have a quick detach. So you can pull this off. The magnifier isn't something that needs to be zeroed. It does have windage and elevation, but that's just to like put the dot or the reticle in the middle of your magnifier. What you zero is the red dot or the Eotech, whatever. So you can pull this off if you want, and then you have a lighter weight setup. Or you can leave it on like I do, and put it out of the way unless you're shooting out to, greater distances. It's just quick, it's easy, it's painless. I love the sight picture, it's fast, it's awesome. But I'm not gonna discount the benefits of having greater magnification. I'm gonna try to take this rifle out to some greater distances before we get too much snow around here and I can't anymore. And maybe my opinion will change, and if it does, I'll let you guys know. But I think for most shooting, unless you're regularly shooting out to greater distances, I do think that something like this will serve you better. But I want to know you guys' opinion because, like I said, I'm just a regular dude that shoots. I'm not like anything special when it comes to shooting. And I know that a lot of my viewers are. So let me know down in the comments what you prefer, what you think are the pros and cons, the benefits and drawbacks to either system of optics for your AR-15 rifle or pistol. See, because on like a pistol version, on my 300 Blackout or my AR-9, I just run a red dot with no magnification whatsoever. And it's perfect for the distances that I shoot those at. And we only have a few rounds left in this one as well. I stepped it back to as far back as I can get where I am today. And I think I'm just gonna engage at 1x and see how well I can hit it from here without magnification. This gun sure shoots soft. And before we go, one other thing to keep in mind. So I used to talk a lot about having backup iron sights. I do believe in having redundancies in case an optic fails. Now, with modern optics, the possibility of your optic failing is almost zero unless you're in like an active war zone, which hopefully we don't find ourselves in soon, but the world is a crazy place right now. The problem is that I keep finding with the rifle setups that I keep putting together. So like on here, backup iron sights, no problem. On this one, the pressure pad for my light takes up most of the rail, and so there's almost not really enough room to do a front sight. This one's got backup irons on it because it can. Although if I move my magnifier back to where it would work better for eye relief without having to move my stock in, I'd no longer be able to use my rear sight with my LPVO. There's not enough room under here for a backup iron sight. And the mount isn't quick detach, so I wouldn't be able to use it anyway. I thought I'd put backup irons on this gun, but unfortunately, with the flip to center mount, there's not enough room for the rear iron sight under that either, so I'm not running backup irons on here anymore. I was when it was just the Eotech, but they don't work on here, and the actual main optic itself isn't QD, even though the magnifier is, and on the riser, it wouldn't co-witness anyway. So that's just something to consider in my opinion, something to think about. But again, let me know what you guys think down in the comments. I want to know what other people's experience is, and I love interacting with you guys down there. I do answer every single comment. Please subscribe to Sawtooth Tactical. Let me know what you think. Like and share. All that stuff helps the algorithm. I will have the 10,000 subscriber giveaway coming here very soon. I'm waiting on some shirts and hats and stuff to get made because I've got a whole idea that I want to do before I make the announcement, and I hit 10,000 quicker than I thought it would, and before I had all that stuff ready. So that is coming if you're wondering about that. But anyway, from Sawtooth Tactical, stay strapped or get clapped.